If you have a life that's really good, things have worked out in beautiful ways, but for some reason you don't quite feel as excited about life as you used to be. Maybe things feel flat, or maybe, let's just come out and say it, perhaps you're unhappy. Then this video is for you, because as I go through this video, I'm going to walk you through the reasons that most people are unhappy so that you have a roadmap going forward and you know what to do about it. So let's really just take a moment and dive into this. And I'm going to start with one quote that drives me up the wall. And you're either going to resonate with this or not. But if you don't, I want you to stick with me because I'm going to share with you why this common belief, this common saying gets mischaracterized. And I believe it is just, it doesn't work well for some people to hear this. And this comes back to the fact that words have meaning, and sometimes they don't always mean the same thing for all of us. So, this phrase that I hate to hear is people, if someone says money can't buy you happiness, people who have a lot of money or are wealthy say, oh, people who say that just never had any money when they say money can't buy you happiness. And I think the first thing that we have to understand is that happiness is an internal state. Happiness is an internal decision that we make. And there are a lot of things that can go into us being in a situation where we're unable to connect with that joy or happiness. And we're going to break it down. But I find it interesting that the people who say money doesn't change a person, it amplifies who they already are, will also say that money can buy you happiness. So let's just break that one thing down right there for a moment. Money can absolutely give us the opportunity to experience new things, to be adventurous, to go places we've never been, and to have the opportunity to meet people or experience things that would not exist without the privilege of wealth. That is 100% true. But it's not the experience that's bringing the happiness. It's not the experience that's bringing the joy. It's actually the internal state of someone knowing that they can create their reality. If they want to do something wild and different, if they want to do something that's very exclusive, they can do that. It is that internal part that creates a state. Now, for someone who might be unhappy, maybe they're stressed, they're overworked, they're overcommitted, maybe they built themselves into a golden cage, so to speak, then what these opportunities do is they give them a break from the current reality. It gives them a break from the current reality, and it lets what's inside already come through. It's not the experience that's doing it, or that experience can be a distraction from toxic relationships, a bad relationship, from something that's going on if they have a business team related, or if they're a singer, songwriter, an actor. There can be something that's going on that this experience is a distraction. So when their mind is not in the worry and the care and concern over a situation, they have the space to be happy. The experience didn't do that. It was the shift in the circumstances that allowed that natural state to come through. And I think that's so very important. Now, if you're new to me, my name's Penny. I'm a board certified hypnotist. I was in an anesthesia career for 15 years when I quit to run my business because I love this work so much. But I also apprentice with an indigenous shaman. And I don't infuse a lot of that into this work, because I believe that the entire personal journey, a person's journey here, that is the spiritual journey. It's not about a religion, it's not about practices or anything like that. Though you can probably tell from my background what my personal practices are, but I don't put that on anyone. But there is a saying in shamanism, and if you go and you read about Toltequity and that lineage of shamanism, one of the things that's commonly said is that man creates his own suffering. We create our own suffering. And one of the things that's allowed me to deeply understand what's happening with people, no, I don't have a psychology degree. No, I don't have an MD with a residency in psychiatry. What I have a degree in, if you will, is 25 years of working in healthcare, seeing people at their worst, health-wise, family members, crisis, all of those things, seeing some people on their best days when beautiful babies are born, but also how people interact, how teams interact, and especially in an ICU or an operating room, you get to know the families very well, or you get to know your team members very well, and you see how people interact. You see that human interaction. And then I've done thousands of hours of work with people using hypnosis to shift their identity. I've done things like smoking and weight loss and pain management and those kinds of things, but the thousands of hours of sessions were people who wanted to have a better relationship with themselves. They wanted to trust themselves. They wanted to let go of a fear that was controlling them or they knew was irrational. They wanted to let go of a sense of being alone. They had this feeling of alone and were just unable to connect in relationships. So that's the type of work that I've done. And I've really gotten to intimately know what hangs people up in the mind. When it comes to humans creating our own suffering, and I'm not immune to this, this is something that I have to work through and pay attention to and be mindful of all the time, are the stories that we have around our life. The first part is the stories that we have around our life, the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that our families have given us and we have taken on as truth, the stories that we've taken on that this is the way things are. This is just life. No, it's not life, because there is absolutely nothing that has any meaning other than the meaning that we put on it. This is why people disagree. This is why people have different perspectives. Everyone puts a different meaning on it. So when you say money can't buy happiness, that can mean many different things. Money can't buy happiness could be one family's way of attempting to feel better that no one in that family has figured out how to generate more wealth in the family. When I say money can't buy happiness, I mean it from the senses that it is not the money that creates a happiness. It is your internal state. Those experiences might shift your state, but you already had the ability to be happy. The experience did not do it. The experience was a distraction, or the experience was a reflection of something that you have strived for internally. And that happiness is that sense of freedom and peace. And like, yes, I can create whatever I want. Like, how amazing is it that I can have this very unique opportunity that is so rare? So that's my version of money can't buy happiness. So everyone puts a different meaning on things. But these stories that we tell ourselves, they become our reality. The words that we speak become our reality. And some of the biggest blind spots that my clients have had when it comes to stories can be the mundane things that they don't even realize they're saying. They can be thinking about something like finances and growing their wealth. And maybe early in their career, they felt this pressure that they were always carrying. They were always carrying the financial weight in the household. They were carrying the weight of being the provider and the income. And as the wealth grows, if we're still carrying that story, we can end up having a very interesting dynamic and relationship with the growth of that wealth as it relates to our family in that sense, and the self-imposed burden of what we think that means. We may not realize we're carrying on this idea that we're supposed to provide for everyone, and it creates resentment instead of somewhere early in the process recognizing that. So this is part of the difference between people who begin the personal growth journey early. So if you're someone who is striving to create financial security and breaking generational financial issues and accumulate wealth, grow wealth, or even just grow a successful business. You don't have to want to be wealthy. Just having more than enough to take care of yourself, more than enough to do all the wild and interesting things that you want to do, because not everybody wants to be a billionaire, and more than enough that if there was an emergency or if someone needed a hand, you could help them out. Somewhere along that way, if you already started the personal growth journey, then you've learned that, when it comes to certain things, you just don't talk about them, and you learn to set those boundaries early. Whereas if you wait until there is a great deal of wealth, because those boundaries haven't been set, family members can still have the expectations. Now you're dealing with the mental weight and the burden of the expectations, and then that resentment, that frustration, that desire to pull back comes in. So that's one example of stories that we can have. Another common story that people have, especially when they're on this personal growth journey, is they fear they're going to outgrow the people that they love the most. And I help clients with this all the time. They fear they're going to outgrow the people who love them the most, and that they will become so unrecognizable to those people that they will lose them. It is a fear of abandonment, and there's nothing to create that abandonment. Beautiful, beautiful story. I had someone reach out to me, and this was one of the core things that was holding them back. They had experienced some really expansive success, and it was one of those things where they loved what they did so much, it was being paid to exist. And then suddenly they snapped back, and it had been over a year. And they kept attempting to tap back into that expansiveness and that ability to express themselves in a way that had made them successful. And they simply could not tap back into it. And one of the things that they shared, I'm afraid that my family will not understand. And I'm afraid that they're going to think I don't belong anymore, and I don't want to lose them. It was this fear of abandonment. Through the process, because I am a spiritual person, through the process, one of the things that we did with the suggestion work as we were working on their fear was that they were able to let go and allow their family to be on their own journey, and that they knew at the core that they were loved, and that they would find a way to be at peace with whatever was meant to be. Halfway through our work together, one of this person's family members was talking to them on the phone and said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe I found this video." And it was a video on YouTube. It was all about personal growth and spiritual growth and what's possible. And without this person saying a word to their family that they were doing this work with me, and by letting go of the need or the perception that if their family didn't change, that they were going to lose their family, the family member actually went out and ended up stumbling upon something and was open. And that is something called counter intention. My client did not realize they were holding a counter intention that was actually keeping their family member from growing. This is also one of the reasons, going back to the money, a lot of people will not talk about money, finances, and success with family. And that's because if a family member resents what you have, that now becomes a counter intention that is working against what you're trying to create. So those stories are very, very important. The next thing is our beliefs. Our beliefs will create unhappiness. And the reason why our beliefs will create unhappiness is because our beliefs generate expectations. So we can set our intention and we want something to happen. We expect something to happen. The law of assumption, we assume it's going to happen. However, some people will say something like, I will feel so at peace when blank happens. You fill in the blank with whatever you want. You'll feel at peace when you've moved to a new city. You'll feel at peace when you've hit a certain financial milestone. You'll feel at peace when, your when your partner of a long time proposes and you're finally getting married. And then you're no longer concerned about, whether or not, you're going to be together forever, whatever the case may be. When we say things like that, we are attaching our happiness. We are attaching our sense of well-being. We are attaching our sense of who we are to that expectation. So when we become attached to our expectations, the story and the beliefs that we carry in our minds around that expectation determines whether or not we're happy. And I'll give you another example that doesn't have anything to do with money, is that I knew someone and with someone I went to high school with, and they lost their grandmother about a decade ago. And this person kept posting over and over on social media that it was my grandma that made me happy. I don't know who I am without my grandmother. My grandmother was my rock. So she had attached her sense of safety, security, stability, and ability to be happy and enjoy life to her grandmother. So when her grandmother passed away, she wasn't just grieving. She literally lost in her mind, based on the beliefs, the stories, and the attachments to what this relationship meant, she lost at a very deep level any sense of safety, security, and happiness. And over time, I watched it. I wasn't doing this work at that point, so I could see a bit what was happening. And once I moved into identity work, it all just clicked. What happened is that she just didn't lose her grandmother when she passed. She lost herself. She lost the happy, thriving version of herself. So that's just an interesting way to look at it. So I always like to tell people when I work with my clients, you have to look at the stories that you're telling yourself. How are you describing the situation? And unfortunately, with affirmations and mantras and all of these things, a lot of people will reframe. They learn about reframing. They will reframe a situation and they think they've reframed it positive. But what they've done is they've changed the words to make it feel positive, but it's not really positive. And I wish I could think of one right off the top of my head. I should have written down some examples before I started recording. But, I have an example for you. So when people are working on money mindset and, they're wanting to get out of fear, lacking, scarcity, instead of saying something like, I'm not sure this is for me, I'm just really not sure this is for me, because they're nervous about investing, they will say something like, well, I have a concern. Well, a concern is fear-based as well, when it would be better to just say, I got a few questions. There are some things I want some clarity on. Wanting clarity is not negative. Having some concerns reflects fear. It sounds good. It sounds positive. And all it is a sugar-coated way of expressing a fear-based story. So really look at your stories. Look at how you say things to people. And whatever you do, stop dragging the past with you. I'll go more into that at the end of the video. We don't want to drag the past with us. So then we get to look at our beliefs. what is it? So whether you're looking at money, you're looking at relationships, you're looking at business partnerships, you're looking at your ability to grow as a person, you're looking at something that you have a burning desire for in your life, but it doesn't seem reasonable to you, sit down and write down, what are the beliefs that I have right now around money? What are the beliefs I have around people who chase their dreams? What are the beliefs I have around people who have happy marriages? What are the beliefs I have around people who came from divorced parents and what their marriages look like? We can uncover so many beliefs that we don't even realize we're carrying because we pick them up as a child. We hear our family members having conversations. We have conversations with our friends as we get older. We hear conversations with teachers. We can be out in public somewhere as a child with our parent, and they can see some situation that has nothing to do with them and nothing to do with you, but they will give side commentary over what they witnessed, and your mind files that away of, oh, this is important. Mom and dad don't like this, or oh, mom and dad think this is important, and that will stick to our sense of self. And these beliefs become blind spots, because when a belief just becomes a 100% fully accepted part of your reality, it is a blind spot. We all have them. I have them. It's something I'm always working through. One of the examples I gave much earlier in this video was something that just 2 or 3 days ago I was sharing with someone, and I thought, wow, for several years, I carried that story, and I don't think I've ever directly done any work to neutralize that and make sure it's not running underneath the surface. I need to just take a look at this and rewrite it and look at it in the eye. So do that with your beliefs. Then, if there are things that you're doing in your life and you expect those experiences, those interactions, those bank balances, those numbers, the location, if you were expecting that to give you a specific effect, then you have attached your sense of well-being to whatever that is. It could be a slice of triple chocolate cake. It could be a car that you're going to have. It could be a trip you're going to go on, a concert you're going to, whatever it is. If you have the thought, oh my gosh, I'll be so relaxed when, oh my gosh, I'll be so happy when, oh my gosh, this is going to make such a difference in my life, you have now attached to that expectation. That's the number one reason that people will go somewhere. But let's say, for example, my kids, back when I took them to Disney World over 20 years ago, they were so excited to go to Disney World. So excited. And when they got there, they did have a blast, but like every day at 3 o'clock, it rained. And we didn't let them know that every day there was going to be a monsoon in Florida. Just get ready for it. So my son, my oldest one, had a complete and total meltdown. He was 10 years old. He had a complete and total meltdown the first day when the downpour came. And, we had to take shelter under, the eaves of one of the restaurants. And we have the ponchos on and all the things. And he was having a meltdown. Why? Because he had a belief that when it rains, you can't be outside and you have to go in and the day is over. He didn't understand we were having to take shelter because of the lightning, not the rain, but the lightning that people do run around Disney World in the rain, so long as there's no lightning strikes. So we had to help him adjust his expectations because, his happiness and his joy was so attached to being able to go on the rides and the sun being shining and everything working out. And so it was an interesting experience. And as adults, we do things like that all the time. So when you can tune into your sense of being. When you can tune into who you are, and you can find your sense of peace, your sense of happiness, your sense of joy inside of you, everything around you is still amazing. It's still abundant. There are still exciting experiences, but you drastically reduce these moments of unhappiness, of frustration, of sadness, a sense of being alone, because you didn't peg your sense of well-being to something that is outside of you. You did not peg your sense of well-being to something that was outside of you. So that's something to just really think about, really tune into. And this is work that is, I don't want to call it work. This is a part of us returning. I don't like to say becoming. This is a part of us returning to who we are. We're learning to go back to our original programming, because from the moment we were given our name, we've been indoctrinated since birth. We have been indoctrinated since birth. Now, some people will say, well, it sounds like we just shouldn't have any beliefs. What's the point of having a belief if our beliefs limit us and our beliefs are causing all of this? Because if you didn't believe in something, then what would be the point? We have to believe in something. So for me, I believe that inherently inside of every single person, there is a spark of something that is pure and good. Now, they may not be good people. They might be people who are doing things that are violent and ugly. And I don't condone violent and ugly. And I would not invite violent and ugly into my home. But somewhere deep inside, there was something that was pure and good. And it got obliterated in this thing we call life. And that has to do with the circumstances and the meaning and beliefs and the experiences that they had, that something led to them, their belief that what they're doing is justified. It's okay, even if I disagree with it. So learn to look inward for who you are, your authenticity, and connecting. Because if you've never read the book, I highly recommend this. If this is work that you want to get into, and this book is required reading in my hypnosis certification program, and then, with my alumni on coaching calls and stuff, if they have difficult clients, I will coach them and I will point out where their clients are getting hung up in what I'm about to share with you. The name of the book is The 5 Levels of Attachment, and it's by Don Jose Ruiz. And he is a shaman, but he uses football, aka soccer, in the US. He uses alignment with a soccer team to break down the 5 levels of attachment. And you hear me talk about identity a lot. Identity is the 3rd level of attachment. So what is the 1st level of attachment? And that is not carrying any identity. You carry an identity, but you're not carrying a belief-based identity. So that's what I'm always working towards, is to come to this place where I don't slip back into the beliefs of being a mother, of being a wife. Yes, I am those things, but not to slip into the identity of it. So one of my roles here is to be a mother. One of my roles here is to be a wife. But my identity, to strive that my identity is not wrapped up in that, so that that doesn't limit me. Because when you recognize the true nature of who and what you are, that you are this spiritual being, and that's a limiting term, you're a spiritual being here having a human experience. That means just recognizing that everything is energy, and we can be in this place of joy, and we can co-create, and not from a woo-woo delulu, but from just a quantum perspective. These things are real. And, we all come here to move another step in our lifetime towards understanding that. And we're all on different places on the journey, because sometimes people say, well, why can't everybody just be there? Well, we're all at different steps on our journey. Life would be boring if we were all at the same place and we all thought the same thing and we all did the same thing. So, one of the things that I have available for you, if looking into the stories, the beliefs, and the I am of who you are, if that is something you would like to dive deeper into on your own, I have a workshop, a 2-hour workshop that I recorded a couple of years ago. It's called the Quantum Identity Matrix Masterclass. It's 1 hour of identity and 1 hour of me doing coaching with the VIP members that had signed up that day. And I've had more people reach out to me, even who were live on the call but weren't VIPs. I've had more people reach out to me that were so positively impacted that it is by far the most popular personal growth masterclass, subconscious mindset, identity, whatever you want to call it. It's the most popular one I've ever done. So I'm going to put the details for that in the description below. Please be sure to subscribe and save this video so you can come back to it and watch it again, because this is one of those videos where you can say, oh my God, yeah, I get it. I get it. This sounds amazing. But to really integrate it, we get to watch it again and again and again. See you next time.